Hello, Irish Football Fan TV. This is the Starting 11 show. Azerbaijan versus the Republic of Ireland tomorrow in the World Cup qualifiers. We know at this stage that qualification is pretty much dead at this rate, but we need a win. Stephen Kenny is under pressure to get a result in this game, as is the squad, and they're all very much aware of it. In this game, I'd like to see us set up in a 4-3-3 formation and try and go at them. I don't feel the need for having a back three in this game, just purely down to the fact that it's Azerbaijan. It's a game we need to go and attack. Whereas if it was a Portugal or a Serbia and we had a back three, I'd understand. But I think Stephen Kenny's preferred system is a 4-3-3. I think he's just had to alternate to suit the better players in his squad. It's obviously good we've got the natural balance when the Stevens back in the team. But I get in and I'll have the team that I would like to see start the game tomorrow. So I'm going to stick with Gavin Bazunu in goal. I think he showed his quality in the last international window with his performances against Portugal and Serbia especially. I think he's the nailed on number one at the moment, and even if Creven Kelleher came into a good bit of form, I think he'd be hard felt to get Gavin Bazunu out of the team. I think he's just been playing that well for Ireland. I think he's a super keeper. I think he's only going to get better as more games come along with him and more experience that he gets under his belt. So Gavin Bazunu for me as the number one tomorrow. Then I'm going to stick with a back four, and I am going to start with Matt Doherty on the right back position. I think he's the obvious player to play there. I think he's our best right back within the squad other than Seamus Coleman. Obviously Seamus Coleman's not around this time. So I think Matt Doherty to come in there, have a really good performance, maybe get himself on the score sheet, could do something for him to get his place back in the Spurs team, because we all know he has got absolute quality, but hasn't seemed to get a real chance with Spurs for whatever reason. So hopefully he can have a good international window starting with the game tomorrow against Azerbaijan. Then in defence, I'm going to go with Shane Duffy. I think he's playing brilliantly for Brighton. He's been playing week in, week out there. It's amazing to see the turnaround in which he has shown from his form last year with Celtic to back to probably his best now with Brighton. I would also have Shane Duffy as my captain for the game tomorrow. I think he's a huge leader within the squad, and I think you have to play Duffy. Again, he's one of those players now, like he was before the Celtic move, where you have to have him playing nearly every game for us because he's just that good. Then beside him, I think keeping that consistency, I think having John Egan playing alongside Duffy, they have played together from young age and stuff like that, and they're really, really good together, I think, and they're both a big threat from set pieces. We obviously seen Egan getting the goal against Portugal, and obviously Duffy getting the goal against Azerbaijan the last time we played out, and causing problems to get the goal against Serbia as well. They're both a handful in both boxes, so I think to have them in there from the start makes total sense, and it gives us a good balance as well on that side. And then just to complete that balance, we have Enda Stevens back, and I'd love to see him start the game tomorrow to give us that natural left back playing in that position, because McLean isn't really a left back. I don't think he's really got the legs for left wing anymore, so he's kind of caught in between. So it's one of those where you're looking at it going, is this is this a real position for McLean? I don't think it is. I think you go with Enda Stevens for this one, and have McLean off the bench, and he could be an impact sub for either left back or further up the pitch if needs be, if anything happens to Stevens, because we obviously know he's coming back from injury. Then in midfield, I would have Josh Cullen as that pivot, and he's probably one of very few of our midfielders playing regularly, 90 minutes most weeks for Anderlecht, and he's never really had a bad game for Ireland that I can recall. Every time I've watched him, I've been impressed by him. He comes in, he receives the ball deep, he gets the ball, tries to get us playing, and breaks the play up. Had a really good game against Portugal, I felt, and I think he'd be deserving of his place in the squad. I think he's going to be a regular starter, going forward. I think Stephen Kenny really trusts him, and I can see why. I think he's a brilliant little player. And then I'm going to have a two in front of them. Then I'm going to go with Jeff Hendrick, just based off his performances in the last international window. I felt as though he was one of our better players, and I thought he actually had a really good a good few appearances there where he actually turned up and looked like he wanted to get involved and get stuck in and maybe silence the critics. He's after scoring a goal in the Premier League last weekend, so he'll be coming into this one on the back of a bit of confidence as well. So I think Hendrick just he has that. How would I put? He has that experience, but as well as that, he also he seems to actually have the bit of hunger to try and do well for Ireland. So it'd be interesting to see what way Stephen actually does go. But I think Hendrick makes sense for this one with Jason Knight being a doubt I read earlier on. So I think Hendrick would be the natural player to come in there, and Stephen obviously trusts him because he's had him in the bigger games in the last international window. And then beside him, I'm going to go with Jamie Mcgrath. The reason I'm going to go with Jamie Mcgrath is he played him against Portugal, and I thought he played really, really well. And again, I go back to Stephen trusting these players. He's worked with Jamie Mcgrath at Dundalk, and I think Jamie Mcgrath is a player who can play in a bit like Jason Knight. He can play in numerous positions and just do well. He won't be like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 every game, but what he will be is usually a 6 or a 7, and he's just a good, solid, reliable player, and he can take set pieces as well. So I think Jamie, and he's got a couple of goals in him and penalties, don't forget, as well. So he's been doing really well for St Mirren the last year and a half, probably longer as well. And I think he'd be justified if he was to come in based off the back of his performance against Portugal. I thought he was excellent in that game. And I think that he'd be a big player for us going forward, creative wise, and just in general. Just I think he brings us that bit of quality in midfield that we're probably lacking at the moment. And then I'm going to go with a front three. And on my front three, I'm going to go on the right-hand side with Chiedozie Ogbene. I think he gives us that pace that we're lacking maybe on the right-hand side. We don't actually have a real natural right-sided winger, and I think he would be the one to give us that natural width on that side, and he can link in with Matt Doherty then. I think he'll scare the opposition in terms of his pace, and then I think as well as that, I think he will scare the opposition. I think every time he gets on the ball, like he did with Hungary when he came on, the opposition were very fearful of him getting in behind and seeing what he could do then. So I think with Ogbene on one side, and then I go Aaron Connolly on the other side, I thought he was a constant threat against Portugal, and I feel as though if he could be a threat against Azerbaijan and hopefully get that first international goal that we all want him to see, or to get, sorry. So I think having Connolly on one side and Ogbene on the other, I think that will put the fear into the Azerbaijan team. And I think Connolly, look, regardless, love him or hate him, what he does is he gets in areas for goal scoring opportunities, and sooner or later one of those opportunities is going to result in a goal. So hopefully it's tomorrow, and hopefully he helps us get the win. Adam Ida is a doubt for the game tomorrow, so I'm going to go with Callum Robinson down the middle. He's done well for West Brom down the middle. I haven't really seen him too much for Republic of Ireland, obviously in that central position. And I think if you have Ogbene on the right rather than Robinson, I think that's more of I think everybody's kind of playing in their natural position, maybe other than Connolly, but Connolly has that pace and he likes to cut in off the left. So I think he actually enjoys playing for Ireland on the left hand side because he gets a lot of the ball. He can take on players, he can get balls into the box, and as well as that, he's got good ability with his feet and obviously good pace as well to get in behind. So that's my starting 11, and hopefully all the press around Robinson and being the vaccine, I don't want to get into all that, but like it would be nice for him maybe to just get a goal and then spin things a little bit in terms of maybe get himself a bit of a spotlight for the good rather than for the bad, and we have a bit of positivity around the team. So that's what I would like to see, the lineup against Azerbaijan. Let me know who you'd have, or would you make any changes, but let us know. I think that's our strongest 11 because we have doubts with Jason Knight and Adam Ida. But that's my starting 11 anyway. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and don't forget to subscribe. I'll speak to you all soon. Take care.